Should I start then?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so my presentation is it's called A Stone in Someone's Shoe, and this is a trauma case. So as you see, I have no conflicts of interest, and well, it presents to Hospital de la Familia a patient, a male patient, 14-year-old with vision loss of 2 months, and the history is that he was, they call it romper piedra here, and it's one of the most dangerous work in our country. As you see, this is it's not a video of our patient, but it's the video I got from YouTube on a documentary of like the most dangerous work in our country. And as you see, this is a Guatemalan. He's not using any protection, and you can see how all the stones, the little stones, just go everywhere. And this time, instead of having a stone in the shoe, we are having one in the eye. So this patient, 14-year-old, is presenting with light perception. And you can see we have a cataract here with capture rupture. We can see an intraocular foreign body. And we see also here a corneal wound autocell. So we do an ultrasound, and it looked like the retina, it's attached, and we couldn't see any other object in the back. I don't have the video. So I wanted to start with this classification of trauma, ocular trauma, which I like a lot because it also give you the bigger picture, because you could have most of the lesions we see are local, but you can have some lesions associated with facial trauma or polytrauma, traumatic patient, and even with a trauma cranioencefálico. How do you say that?
Cranial trauma.
Yeah.
Brain trauma, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that only represents 6%. So it's very common that these patients don't consult with us, or usually we have these patients consult really late. And so, of course, we have the Brigham.
What is térmica?
A burn.
It's a burn.
Oh, térmica. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Oh, thermical.
Yes.
I get it. Thermal. Yeah, thermal.
Oh yeah, I could go through this. Yeah,
no, that's okay. I'm just wondering what that one was. You don't have to go through them.
Oh, okay. And then, of course, the one that we all are familiarized is like the Brigham Eye Trauma Terminology System, which is a really easy classification and terminology, and it just classifies in closed glove, open glove, and then and what I like is that this image exemplifies that if you have, for example, a rupture or a laceration, you can have a penetrating trauma or perforating trauma or an intraocular foreign body. So after this, we have to do also an ocular trauma score, so we can talk to the patient about what to expect after a surgery. And for example, we can, in our patients, we see a light perception. So that's, we give it a score, of course. And then we couldn't see any rupture in the glove, endophthalmitis, which was really odd because the patient has this cone in the eye. And then we didn't have a perforating injury or retinal detachment, or we couldn't evaluate the the pupillary defect because, of course, we have a lot of sneaky there. And so the patient is classified as a score in 3 points, which is 40%, approximately 40% of the chance that the patient will be having a very good outcome. For example, that's a better visual acuity of 20/40. So we go through all this with the patients and the family, which was really kind of back and forth to decide if the patient wanted to have the surgery. Just reminding you that also when it comes to trauma, it's good to know where the intrasite is, and also it's a good prognosis if we have an intrasite in the zone 1, which is just the cornea. And then the zone 2 is the red one, and after in the blue zone, which is zone 3, that will be the most complicated cases. So anyway, we decided to go in the retina OR. Thanks to God, we were having a jornada, so we had anesthesiologists, and we decided to start with an anterior approach. So I'm just gonna start the video here, and we start with a peritomy superiorly because we decided to do a tunnel to prepare the eye to get this tone out. So as you see, it's a young patient, so we have a very prominent tenon. So we're dissecting right here.
Isa, I'm sorry, how old is this injury, Isa?
How old is this? What?
How long ago was the injury?
2 months.
Oh,
this
2 months. 2 months.
2 months.
Ago.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I decided to do a scleral wound. And I usually like to do it before I start the surgery, so the glove is really tense and it's easier, but I don't finish it. I just create a tunnel. Just some viscoelastic. And I wanted to see how it behaves, but as you can see, when the video stops, we could see a rupture in the back, so I decided to go all in. So I'm getting the infusion line. As you see, it's a young patient, so the sclera, it's harder to get in with the trackers. Now I'm just starting to the cataract, but boom, the second stone appears there. So we go all retina in. And then you can see the stone, which was like probably, we couldn't see it in the ultrasound because it was just in the posterior capsule, attached to the posterior capsule. So now we're just doing the vitrectomy, cleaning. I'm having a lot of movement, so I put some perfluorocarbon liquid. I stain the vitreous, and then I'm inducing a posterior vitreous detachment there. And that was like a little bit harder to film, so kind of like, oh, if you can see that little halo that comes out, that was the, and then I'm just planning. I wanted to have a better view and to finish it in all the cataract. And now I'm trying to get that stone with the corset, but I couldn't. So we couldn't find any instrument. So I went with this instrument that actually designed for anterior segment, but it was really helpful. It's a MyLoop, by the way.
Mhm.
And,
Wow.
and then that's my second try. We were sweating, by the way. And of course, I edit. And then we got this done.
What is that instrument used for anterior segment? I'm not familiar.
It's to divide in quadrants the cataract. So now, of course, I'm like sweating that this won't just drop again. I'm trying to put some, well, I had that, a lot of vitreous there, so I just clean it. Finish my scleral wound. I took that out, so I had some support to where to put it, because I wanted to have free my right hand. I'm a right-handed.
Wow,
Yay!
just a great video. Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations on finding a use for the MyLoop. That is very clever. I love it.
Now I have the other stone that's about really attached to the iris. So I took my time to get it out. Oh, Sima was there, so I asked for advice for her too. And she was like, just take it out. And then I just go back to the retina to see what I'm left of. Of course, I have a little tear there, which I provoked when I was trying to take it with the forceps. So just laser it. I'm doing the exchange to air there. And now I found a hole in the periphery, so I'll laser that too. You can see the macula has a contusion there.
Isa, do you think those holes are from the original trauma, or is that just as part of the surgical recovery of the rock?
The periphery hole was, of course, the patient had it probably before. It could be made after trauma. I mean, the patient has been with that 2 months. And then in the back, of course, I did it on the surgery. So that was important, the initial trauma.
Mm-hmm. What a great surgery.
And then we're just finished. This is it, first day post-op. And this is a week after, which is already with correction. It was at 13 plus, 2000. The patient's really happy, and we are also very happy. Patient responded very well. And this is the retina. You can see the retina is patch. We had covered very well all the defects that we caused. We had a little bit of exudados, which hard exudates in the macula, probably from the Berlin edema. And so we decided in a month to get for the second surgery, which I actually did present this video last time with Kinika on the video round. So I don't know if you want me to just pass it. Should I fast forward this
No,
video?
no, go ahead, leave it.
Oh, okay. So I decided to go and do an iris claw because it's faster, and the patient, since we did have an anesthesiologist, but we do it with sedation. So I try to keep the OR times as short as I can, especially with the kids. So I go into the same wound, prepare my corneal wounds to plan the iris claw, put an infusion line there to maintain the eye. I don't decide to use all the instrument of vitrectomy. Go in with the iris claw. Had some difficulties because I put the video too wide, so, and it's taken with the smartphone, so, but I was struggling with the superior claw. So I'd hold the iris with the Sinski because I was afraid it will go to the back, and I had to use the retina stuff. But thanks God I could attach it there. Just check in, and it looked like wasn't that sure, so I tried again. And just close. This is 1 day post-op. This is 2040. Patient's really happy also.
Amazing, amazing.
That's a great case.
Let me just say, when we were in the OR, we were busy doing other cases, and I had 2 residents with me, and there was a whole battalion of people watching Isa do this, and there was applause all around as she delivered the first stone and then the second one. It was just an incredible moment.
We're happy. And then, well, I'm just gonna go and talk
Lisa,
a little
just a
bit.
quick question. Mostly maybe for the answer segment docs, was there any discussion of trying to take, I guess, as an extra capsular cataract extraction and maybe with posterior levitation, just try to get it before it fell, or was
Oh,
it
yeah.
was
That
going
was,
to
that was actually, that was the first approach. Let me go to the first video. So I wasn't planning to do the retina there, but I don't know if I can fast forward this video here. But so we started with that approach, just like aspirate the cataract, take out this with the superior wound of 6. But when we got in, we could see the posterior capsular rupture.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying for the whole, take it out as one like basically put a cryoprobe in there and basically take out in situ the whole lens together with this thing on the back.
With the sound. Oh, well, but the cataract, it was really, really soft because he's a 14-year-old.
Got you. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So talking about a little bit of intraocular foreign bodies. First of all, this is an emergency, but sometimes it doesn't happen here in Guatemala. But there are reports in the USA, it's up to 2.5 4 million cases, which is a lot. And just for intraocular foreign bodies, we have like almost to 41% of cases. And these accidents occurred mostly in workplace, but a 30% could happen in our house. Of course, we have to investigate a little bit of the mechanism of injury. Most of them are from hammering, and you can also you have to ask to know about how can these objects damage the eye. So the speed, the size, the nature is very important. The entry site, as we discussed in the beginning, if it's zone 1, 2, or 3 in the eye, and also how the impact is received in the eye. And also the the material of the intraocular foreign body is very important. If it's metallic, we can have siderosis bulbi, which is very important. That's why we have to take them out. If it's organic, we could be having a really bad endophthalmitis. And if we have a glass or a plastic, they are described to be inert, which doesn't give you much inflammation, but you have to evaluate also to take it out. So so I wanted to like finish with this, because every time you have a history of trauma, you have to first identify, document, classify, try to do the ocular trauma score, to talk with the patients, and also to manage expectations, treat, and of course, very important, and we shouldn't forget about that, to follow up. Just remembering all the instruments that we as ophthalmologists we have, from from our favorite slit lamp to taking pictures with our phone, or with other instruments more sophisticated through an ultrasound, or whatever, anything else we could have to our disponibility. And then I just wanted to finish with this photo. And just, these are my references. I don't know if anyone wants to comment, or should I go back here?
Hey, Isa, I have a question for you. So,
yes.
Yeah, I've done a lot of microbiology in my practice, and it just blows my mind that rock and similar traumas don't just fill the eye up with the bacterial proliferation in 3 or 4 days. And I know that's a common thing, though, rocks and metal fragments. Do you have any explanation for that? Because if you just put a rock on a blood agar plate, it would grow something out on it. So
yes.
Did you come across anything with that?
Well, that was like my first thought. I was like, why does this look so clean? I mean, it's a young patient, she has a very good immune system, right? And then when you review the literature, it's like really uncommon to have endophthalmitis with stones. So I was shocked by that. But yes,
I could comment a little bit on that. For the rocks, when you're hammering rocks or concrete, a lot of times the fragment is not from the surface; it's from internal. You know, so it's a relatively isolated thing. And then as far as metal fragments, those are always sterile because they're always hot.
Yeah.
Either due to the friction of drilling, hammering, or grinding. They've been sterilized. So, you know, they may be 150, 200, 300 degrees. You know, sometimes they're glowing when they enter the eye. So they're sterile always.
So your thought on the rock is that it's an internal fragment that is just
That's what I think, because I'm shocked how well tolerated these are as well. It's just, this is a shocking case, but yet one we've all seen. It's weird.
Yeah. It's also anaerobic, I guess, inside the vitreous chamber and the aqueous. So maybe that doesn't give much of an opportunity for some of these weaker, gram-positive organisms to take footing there. Yeah, it's just really interesting, though. Yeah, that's everybody's experience, right? That it's sterile.
Yes. Well, I found 6% of endophthalmitis, and I think there was a study that reported like a 30%, but it wasn't much cases. So
I have a general intraocular foreign body question. I mean, because I think that over the years, there's only one foreign body that I regret trying to retrieve, and that was a piece of glass. And I did it with the vitreoretinal specialist, and I think we caused more trauma than the just leaving it in there would have caused. But what about the most common intraocular foreign body, which is a dislocated IOL? I'm wondering, I'd like to hear people's opinions when those need to be removed and when they don't need to be removed.
Mhm.
Because that's the most common intraocular foreign body that we see in the vitreous, at least that I see.
Yeah, so it came up with a case with Andy and I recently, Eric, that basically they don't need to be removed. They can be left long term as long as the patients they don't have vitreous dragging, and they're even if the vitreous is very mobile, but as long as it's not incarcerated and you don't see vitreous traction around it, you can leave them indefinitely. With retinal observation, I wouldn't say, I would have a retina specialist follow. But you don't have to take them out. We have a patient who has a PMMA lens that's dislocated and would require general anesthesia due to his kind of mental status, and general anesthesias have put him hindered his recovery, social, emotionally, and functionally, and his wife doesn't want him to have any other surgery. So Andy, I think, is just going to go put in another lens and leave the PMMA. Is that
We
right,
have one
Andy?
other, yeah, and the reference case on that was a patient with 3 lenses in their eye from my residency, where I don't remember the whole history, but one had fallen, one had subsequently dislocated, and they put a third one in. They came in with 3 lenses. So yeah, but
And I
so
think taking out
Ethan, did that?
PMMA lenses are pretty difficult. I mean, honestly, I've done,
Yeah.
to your point, I've done more harm sometimes taking out a PMMA lens.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
than
having
falling
to
through that.
you're having to make this massive pars plane incision to
Uh-huh.
retrieve those. And this case highlights how tricky it is grabbing these foreign bodies in the vitreous. And that's why I think the MyLoop was quite ingenious, because they're not easy to just go down and grab.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is a great job with that case. And also the importance, I learned this, I think, later, but that ocular trauma score actually comes into handy not only for prognosis of the patient, as you kind of suggested, but also, at least in the United States, a lot of these cases are going to be medical legal or workers' comp, or somebody
comp,
didn't do some type of preventive measure that could have prevented the injury. And sometimes these will get litigated. And one interesting one was a patient who had a piece of glass. He had gone to a science lab demonstration where, like, one of these mad science camps, and the science teacher had capped to show as a demonstration, I don't know why, but basically dry ice capped it, and the beaker exploded and went into a student's eye. And then this student became my patient, and the patient, they had a really great outcome. He was aphakic, but he ended up being 20/40, but with diplopia and not, I mean, it was a great surgical outcome for me, but it wasn't a great functional outcome for this young guy. Anyway, it got litigated, and I was very upset when the prosecution, or I guess the defense of the science people, basically came out and said, well, she didn't do a good enough job. And at that point, I was like, nope, I have the ocular trauma score. Basically, they were saying that, if he's got any deficits, it's because, she created an additional pupil for him, and, all that kind of stuff. And I basically had that ocular trauma score to back me up, to say, and he went away. The student who was injured went away with a pretty hefty settlement, but I kind of was annoyed that, they were expecting something better from that eye.
And you can come up with the ocular trauma score
Very quickly.
later, but you can come up with it later too, right? It's not something that has to be done.
That's right. I actually
At the time.
came up later, but I should have known to come up with it earlier, because there, being at San Francisco General, there was another homeless guy who had gotten punched, and that turned into litigation. And that's when I first learned about it. And it would have been nice if I had kind of documented it initially in my chart, that look, because it looked kind of defensive when I came back later and I said, look at the ocular trauma score.
Right.
But I put it in my chart and said, his prognosis is poor, and now he's this, it would have been a better kind of, I wouldn't have probably felt so bitten by it, by the lawyers.
Hey, Isa, I have one last question. In Guatemala, do you have an equivalent of a workers' safety protection agency in government? We in the United States, it's called OSHA, but are there regulations that workers have to wear glasses or that their
Yes.
employers have to provide them?
Yes. It's well, every company, which is like, but it has to be a formal company.
Yeah.
It has all the regulations, which it doesn't happen everywhere in Guatemala, but all the companies that wants to work, like for example, internationally or locally, they are required to have this salud ocupacional, it's called.
Okay. Salud. Okay.
So yeah, it's very regulated. There's a lot of information. They even like the company helps this protection hour and everything. Yeah.
But
But-
it doesn't work in the United States either. So that's just for reference. So that's a fantastic case. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, Isa. It's really amazing, and I'm really excited about the retina team doing a lot of wonderful work. Those cases would have to be sent to Guatemala, and now they're doing them there down there with excellent results. So, thank you,
Yeah,
Isa.
bravo.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all for being part of that and allowing us to do that for the patient.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
All right. Yeah.
Good
Great
job.
job.
Hey, everyone, great case. Thanks.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.